Hi, it's Paul. Welcome to case 5 of fine needle aspiration of lymph nodes. This case is a 60-year-old male who had multiple enlarged neck nodes and a history of smoking. Looking at the air-dried Giemsa slides, you can see it's predominantly red blood cells, but there's a couple of smaller groups I'm indicating that appear to be probably epithelial. They're cohesive and they have nuclei and more abundant cytoplasm than you would see in lymphoid cells. Here's a larger, flatter sheet of cells that look interesting, and they're certainly cohesive on higher power. They have dark, variably sized and shaped nuclei. Some of them at least appear to be centrally placed in the cell, and they've got a moderate amount of fairly dense cytoplasm. That one there seems to have a centrally placed nucleus and quite dense cytoplasm. Here's a couple of cells that are looking squamoid to me, so they have a central nucleus, moderate amount of cytoplasm. On the pap stain we can see the cells have quite coarse chromatin and very dense cytoplasm. The nuclei seem to be centrally placed. Cytoplasm has no vacuoles in it. And this group here is showing quite squamoid morphology, so they look just like normal squamous cells. They have dense cytoplasm. Notice how well defined the cell borders are around the cells. Nuclei seem to be in the center of the cell, and you can see in this group as well that variation in size and shape. So not all of the nuclei are nice and small and round with a smooth border. Background shows some benign small mature lymphocytes. This is a bizarre mitosis that's present, and these cells are interesting. So some of them are showing a bit of a caudate shape. By that I mean they've got a bit of a tail of cytoplasm coming off them. They're quite angular, sort of, some of the nuclei, and a couple of more bizarre looking nuclei there in cells that appear to have squamous cytoplasm. It's an interesting group. These are very abnormal looking, squamoid looking cells, and then this patch is showing cells that have very elongate nuclei, so sort of cigar shaped. We would call these spindle cells. So they're quite a long, thin cell. That's a shape that's often associated with connective tissue cells, but we see it in a number of malignancies as well. And the cytoplasm here is staining a bit orange, as you can see. That's reflecting keratinization, a common feature of squamous cell cancers. Notice that the nuclei are almost opaque, so they don't have a chromatin pattern. They're so hyperchromatic, and they're very elongate. So in summary, we've seen a population of cells that are arranged as both single cells and small sheets of cells, as well as that last one was really a crowded hyperchromatic group of cells. The cells themselves have quite a reasonable amount of cytoplasm, so they have a moderate to low NC ratio. That cytoplasm is dense and homogeneous, so no vacuoles, has a very well-defined edge to the cell, and there was some orangiophilia indicating some keratinization. The nuclei were centrally placed, very hyperchromatic with coarse or opaque chromatin, and there was quite a bit of variation in nuclear size and shape. Nucleoli weren't particularly a feature, and we saw some pleomorphic sort of cells, so ones with tails, caudate cells, and spindle cells. And these findings really are in keeping with metastatic squamous cell carcinoma. Thank you.